Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Muktananda Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Muktananda Mahan Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Muktananda Mahan Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Muktananda Mahan Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Muktananda Mahan 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 Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Muktananda Mahan Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Muktananda Mahan Muktananda Mahan Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Muktananda Mahan Jaya Sadguru Bhagavan Om Guru Jaya Guru Sachidananda Guru Nanda Sadaguru, Nanda Guru Guru. Parvati Pate Hara 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 Mahadev. Namo Swanantaya Sahasramurtaye Sahasraparak Shishirodubhave Sahasranamne Purushaya Shashwate Sahasrakoti Yugadarine Namah. Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachira Nandamurtaye Nich Prapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase Nityanandaya Gurave Shisha Samsararine Bhaktakaya Kadeyaya Namaste Chitsadatmane. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sano Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Varitamastu Vidvishavahe. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Gurubhyo Guru Padukabhyo Namah Paribhya Parapadukabhya Acharya Siddhe Parapadukabhyo. Namo Namah Shri Vaitavyam Sthirabhaktidavyam Charyabdi Samsho Saravaravabhyam. Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Asya Shri Guru Gita Stotra Mantrasya Bhagavan Sada Shiva Rishi Nana Vidani Chandamsi Shri Guru Paramatma Devata Ambijam Sashakti Kro Kilakam Shri Guru Prasara Siddhyarte Jape Viniyoga Ata Dhyanam Amsavyam Parivrita Patra Kamale Divya Jagakarne Vishvokirnamane Kare Anilaye Swachandama Mechaya Tadyotam Parashambhava Tucharanam Deepankura Grainam Vigram Guru Param Dhyaye Vibhum Shashvatam Mama Chaturvida Purushartha Siddhyarte Jape Vinyoga Sutta Uvacha Kailasa Shikare Ramye Bhakti Sandana Nayakam Pranamya Parvati Bhaktya Shankaram Paya Pritshati Shri Devi Uvacha Om Namo Deva Devesha Para Para Jagadguru Sadashiva Mahadeva Gururiksham Pradehi Me Kena Margena Baswami Bhave त्वां कृपां कुरु मे स्वामी नमामि चरणौ तव ईश्वरा उवाच मम रूपासि देवी त्वां त्वत्प्रीत्यर्थं वदाम्यहं लोकोपकारका प्रश्नो न केनापि कृता पुरा दुर्लभं कृष्णलोकेषु तत्कुरुष्व वदाम्यहं गुरुविना ब्रह्मणान्यात् सत्यं सत्यं वरानने वेदशास्त्र पुराणानि इतिहासादिकानि च मन्त्रयन्त्रादि विद्याश्च स्मृतिरुचातनादिकाम् शैवशाक्तमादीनि अन्यानि विविधानि च अपभ्रंशकराणि जीवनं भ्रान्तते च साम् अग्नोव्रतम् उदानं जपस्थितं शोषणं पापपङ्कस्य दीपनं ज्ञानतेजसाम् तं संयां संसारानवतारकम् अज्ञानमूलारणं क्षमाकर्माणि वारणं ज्ञानवैराग्यसिद्ध्यर्थं गुरुपारोरकं पिबे गुरुपारोरकं पीत्वा गुरुरुच्छिष्टभोजनं सराज्ञानं गुरुमन्त्रं सराजपे आशिषेशन्तनिवासो जानवी चरणोदकं गुरुविश्वेश्वर साक्षात् तारकं ब्रह्मनिश्चितं गुरुपारोरकं यातु कायसोक्षयो वचः तीर्थराज प्रयागश्च गुरुमूर्ते नमो नमः गुरुमूर्तिं स्मरे नित्यं गुरुनामसराजपे गुरुराञ्जं प्रकुर्वीता गुरुरन्यान् भावये गुरुवक्त्रसितं राधनं कार्यं स्वजीवित्वं निवेदये कर्मणा मनसा वाचा नित्यमाराधये गुरुं दीर्घदण्डं नमस्कृत्य निर्लजो गुरुसानिधौ शरीरमिन्द्रियं प्राणान् सद्गुरुभ्यो निवेदये आत्मदारारिकं सर्वं सद्गुरुभ्यो निवेदये कृमिकीटभस्मविष्टा दुर्गन्धिमालमूत्रकं श्लेष्मरक्तं त्वचामंसं पञ्चयेन वरानने संसारवृक्षमारुदा कण्ठन्तो नारकर्णवे येन चैव धृता सर्वे तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः गुरुब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः एतवे जगतामेव संसारानावसेचवे प्रभवे सर्वज्ञान कायकारणरूपाय तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नानारूपं सर्वं न केनाप्यस्ति भिन्नता कार्यकारणता चैव तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः यरङ्घ्रिकमलद्वन्द्वं त्वन्वतपानिवारकं तारकं सर्वरापभ्य श्रीगुरुं प्रणमम्यहम् शिवे कृते गुरुश्राता गुरुकृते शिवो नहि तस्मात् सर्वप्रयत्नेन श्रीगुरुं शरणं व्रजे वन्दे गुरुपरद्वन्द्वं त्वन्वतं सिद्धगोच यस्यं देशे विराजते तस्यै दिशे नमस्कुर्यात् भक्त्या प्रतिदिनं प्रिये तस्यै दिशे सततमञ्जलेश आर्ये प्रक्षिप्यते करितो मरुपेर्बुडेश्च जागर्ति अत्र भगवान् गुरु चक्रवर्ती विश्वोदय प्रणनातन नित्य साक्षी श्रीनाथरि गुरुत्रयं गणपतिं वित्तत्रयं भैरवम् परयुगां ज्योतिक्रमं मण्डलम् वीरान्द्राश्चतशिष्टशासिनेनुकनिका कापि संसारवारिजे सेतुबन्धायते नाथं देशिकां तमुपास्महे यस्मादनुग्रहं लब्ध्वा महारज्ञानमुत्सृजे तस्मै श्रीदेशिकेन्द्राय नमस्ताभीष्टसिद्धये शारदावनलाविनाशकम् ब्रह्मरन्ध्रे सितं भोजा मदीयसं चन्द्रमण्डले आकतारि तीरे काचे सहस्रजालमण्डले हंसपुष्पशिखोने च स्मरेतन्मध्यगं गुरुम् सकलभुवनसृष्टि कल्पितशेषपुष्टिर् निखिला निगमदृष्टि सम्भरं व्यर्थदृष्टि अवगुणपरिमार्ष्टिस् तत्परर्थैकदृष्टिर् भावगुणपरमेष्टिर् मोक्षमार्गैकदृष्टि सकलभुवनरङ्ग स्तपनस्तम्भयस्ति सकरुणारसावृष्टिस् तद्वमालसमस्ति सकलसमयसृष्टि सच्चिदानन्ददृष्टिर् निवसतु मयि नित्यं श्रीगुरोरिव्यदृष्टि अग्निशुद्धसमं चाचु ज्वालपरीक्षकार्या मन्त्ररसमिमं मन्ये अणिसम्पतं मृत्युचा हरे जति तने जति तद्दुरे तत्समीपके तरन्तरस्य सर्वस्य हरु सर्वस्य भायचा अजोऽहमजरोऽहं च अनदीनिधनस्वयम् अविकार श्रीरानन्द आनेयं वाचोमान् अपूर्वाणं परं नित्यं स्वयं ज्योतिर्निरामयम् धीरजं परमाकाशं ध्रुवमानन्दम् अव्ययम् इति प्रत्यक्षमेति नमः ज्ञानशक्ति समारुदास् चितः मुक्ति प्रदातायास् तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः अनेकजन्म सम्प्राप्ता सर्वकर्मविदायिने स्वज्ञानप्रभावेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः न गुरोररिकं तत्त्वं न गुरोररिकं च पाम् तत्त्वं ज्ञानपरं नास्ति तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः अनता श्रीजगन्नाथ मद्गुरु श्रीजगद्गुरु मम सर्वभूतात्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ज्ञानमूलं गुरुमूर्ति पूजमूलं गुरुपरं मन्त्रमूलं गुरुवाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरुकृपा गुरुराधिरनारीष्ट गुरुपरविद्याबलान्विता संसारकुहरवर्ते गतयन्त्रे यथा गता mukta deva gandharva pitaro yaksha kinnara vishaya sarva siddhasya guru seva paramukha Jnanam shunu mahadevi sarvananda pradayakam Taram nityam bhukti mukti vidayakam Shrima Parabrahma Gurum Smarami Shrima Parabrahma Gurum Varami Shrima Parabrahma Gurum Namami Shrima Parabrahma Gurum Bhajami Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanam Murtim Vanvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tadvamasya Rilaksham Ekam Nitya Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunaraitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Nityam Sudha Nirabhasam Nirakaram Niranjanam Nityapuram Shiranandam Guru Brahman Mamyam Udambuje Karnika Marya Samste Simasane Samsitya Divya Murti Yae Gurum Chandra Kala Prakasham Shipusaka Bhishta Varam Dharanam Shvetambaram Shveta Vilepa Pushpam Mukta Vibhusha Muritam Drinetram Rama Kapitya Sitya Divya Shaktim Mandasmitam Sandra Kapaniranam Anandamananda Karam Prasanam Jnana Swarupam Nichabora Yuktam Yogindra Midyam Bhavaroga Vaidyam Srimad Gurum Nityamaham Namami Yasmi Shushi Chitidvamsa Nigranugramakam Krutyam Pancha Viram Shashvat Vasate Tam Namamyam Kaptashira Ishuklabje Dvinitvam Dvibhujam Gurum Varabhaya Yutam Shantam Smaretam Nama Purvakam Nagarorarikam 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 Shiva Shasanata Shiva Shasanata Shiva Shasanata Shiva Shasanata Irameva Shivam Chirameva Shivam Virameva Shivam Chirameva Shivam Mama Shasanato Shasanato Mama Shasanato Mama Shasanata Evam Vidam Gurum Yadva Jnanam Upadyate Swayam Tat Satguru Prasadena Mukta Amiti Bhavaye Guru Darshita Margena Manashurim Tukaraye Daye Sarvam Yakinchinda Magocharam Eyam Sarva Sarupam Sha Jnanam Cha Mana Uchate Jnanameya Samam Kuryan Tanya Panta Ditiyakam Evam Shiva Mahadevi Guru Nindam Karotiyam Sayate Narakam Guram Yava Chandra Divakaram Yava Kalpanta Kodeyas Savareva Gurum Smareem Guru Lopana Kartavya Swachando Yari Bhavave Unkarena Navaktavyam Agneshi Shekatanshanam Guru Ragrena Vaktavyam Asatyam Chakarachanam Gurum Tvam Krityam Kritya Gurum Nirjitya Varatam Aranye Nirdale Deshe Sabhave Brahma Rakshasa मुनिपि पानगिर्वापि सूर्यवाशापितो यरि कालमृत्युभयाद्वापि गुरुरक्षाति पार्वती आशक्ता हि सुरद्यश्च आशक्ता मुनयश्च ते शीघ्रं क्षायन्ति न संशया मन्त्रराजमिरं देवी गुरुरित्याक्षरद्वयं स्मृतिवैरार्थवाक्येन गुरुसाक्षात् परं श्रुतिस्मृति अविज्ञाय केवलं गुरुसेवकं देव सन्न्यासिना प्रोक्ता इतरे वेषधारिणा नित्यं ब्रह्म निराकारं निर्गुणं बोधये परं सर्वं ब्रह्म निराभासं दीपो दीपान्तरं यथा गुरो कृपा प्रसादेन अमरमं निरीक्षये अनेन गुरुमार्गेण स्वज्ञानं प्रवर्तते आब्रह्मस्तपर्यन्तं परमं स्वरूपकं स्थावरं जगमं चैव प्रणमामि जगन्मयम् वन्देऽहं सच्चिदानन्दं विरतितं सद्गुरुं कारं निर्गुणं स्वमसंशितं परतरं ध्येयं नित्यमानन्दकारकं हृदयाकाशमध्यस्थं हृदयस्फटिकसानिभं स्फटिकाप्रतिमारूपं दृश्यते दर्पणे यथा ततं मणिचिराकारम् आनन्दं स्वमित्युताम् अङ्गुष्ठमन्त्रपुरुषं ध्यायता चिन्मयं मुनिं तत्र स्फुरा भावो या शृणुतं कथयं याम् अगोचरं तथा गम्यं नामरूपविवर्जितं निःशब्दं च विजानीयात् स्वभवं ब्रह्म पार्वती कर्पूरकुसुमारिषु शीतोष्णारि स्वभावेन तथा ब्रह्म च शाश्वतं स्वयं तत्त्वविदो भूत्वा स्तव्यं यत्र कुत्रचित् चित्तब्रह्मरवतत्र ज्ञानं भवति तदृशम् गुरुज्ञानं तथा कृत्वा स्वयं ब्रह्ममयो भवेत् ते मुक्तो सो नात्र संशयः श्रीपार्वती उवाच इदं किं तु महादेव परं किं सामुदारतं रूपतीतं स्वरूपं किं एतदत्यायि शङ्कर श्रीमहादेव उवाच इदं कुण्डलिनी शक्ति परमं सामुदारतं युक्तं ज्ञेयं रूपतीतं निरञ्जनम् ते मुक्ता परे मुक्ता रूपे मुक्ता वरानने रूपातीते तु ये मुक्ता ते मुक्ता नात्र संशयः सर्वमयो भूत्वा परं तत्त्वं विलोकयेत् परतरं नान्यत् सर्वमेतन्निरालयम् तालोकनं प्राप्य सर्वसङ्गविवर्जिता एकाकी निष्परा शान्तास्तिष्ठचेता प्रसादता लादम्ब जनलादम्ब स्वभवबाहुलं च निष्कामेनेव भोक्तव्यं सदा सन्तुष्टते च सा सर्वज्ञा परमित्या kutrachin Yatrivate sate sokti Sarisha punya bhajanam Muktasya lakshanam devi Tavagre katitam mayam Upadesha sutta devi Guru margena muktiram Guru bhakti satadhyanam Sakalam tava kirtitam Ekaryam tavaram imamate Lokopaka tam devi Lokikam tuna bhavaye Lokika karmano yanti Jnana ena bhavarnavam Jnani tu bhavaye sarvam Karmanishkarmayat kritam Idam tu bhakti bhavenam Padate shunateyarim Vikit vata praratavyam Tatsarvam safalam bhave Guru Gita makam devi Sudata mammayuritam Bhavavyari vinashartam Swayameva jape sadam Guru Gita akshare kamchu Mantra rajami mam jape Anye cha vivira mantra Kalam naranti shorashim Manuti Guru Gita japena tu Sarva papa prashamanam Sarva daridya nashanam Kala mrityu bayaram Sarva sankata nashanam Yaksha raksha shabhutanam Chora vyagra bayapam Mahavyari aram sarvam Vibhuti siriram bhavem Atavam mohanam vashyam Swayameva jape sada Paschasane daridram Ashane roga sammavam Medinyam dukam apnoti Kashte bhavati nishvalam Krishna jineyana siddhir Moksha shigyaga charmani Sarva sirustu kambale Shiva durvaya devi Asane shubra kambale Upavisha tato devi Kape degraga manasa Deyam shuklam cha sanyardam Vashirakasanam priye Avichare Krishna varnam Vitaranam danagame Uttaresham namastu Ashe purvam kojape Dakshine maranam proktam Kashime chadanagama Mohanam sarva bhutanam Gandhamokshakaram bhavem Devarasha yakaram Sarvaloka vasham bhavem Sarvesham samanakaram Dushkarmanashanam seva Sukarma siddham bhavem Asidam sandaye karyam Navagrabhayapam Susvapnanashanam seva Susvapna phaladayakam Sarva shanti karam nityam Tatavadyasa puchanam Avedavyam karam srinam Sobhagyadayakam saram Ayurarogamishvarya Putra putra bhavardanam Akamata Shri Virava Japam moksham avapnuyat Avedavyam sakamatu Labhate chanya janmani Sarva dukkha bhayam vignam Nashayekcha parakam Sarva bada prashamanam Dharmata kama mokshadam Tam च प्राप्नोति निश्चिताम् अमिच्छार्थं भावपाशानिवृत्तये तद्वाद्या कुरुते सदा स एवाच गुरुसाक्षात् सदा स ब्रह्मवित्तमाम् तस्य स्थानानि सर्वाणि पवित्राणि न संशयः सर्वशुद्ध पवित्रोऽसौ स्वभवार्यत्र तिष्ठति तत्र देवागणाः सर्वे क्षेत्रेऽपि ते वसन्ति आसनश्च शयानो वा कंससितं वरानपि अश्वरूढो गजारूढः सुप्तो वा जागृतोऽपि वा सरभियानि तस्य दर्शनमात्रेण पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते समुद्रे च यथा तोयं क्षीरे क्षीरं घृते घृतं पिण्डे कुम्भे यथाकाशस् तथा परमात्मनि अतिद्वद्यानि जीवात्मा परमात्मनि लीयते ऐक्येन रमते ज्ञानी यत्र तत्र दिवानिशाम् एवं विदो महामुक्तः सर्वदा वर्तते बुधः तस्य सर्वप्रयत्नेन भावभक्तिं करोति यः सर्वसंलेहरहितो मुक्तो भवति पार्वती मुक्तिद्वयं तस्य जीवाग्रे च सरस्वती अनेन प्राणिन सर्वे गुरुगीता जपेन तु सर्वसिद्धिं प्राप्नुवन्ति मुक्तिं न संशयः सत्यं धर्मं साख्यं मयोडितं गुरुगीता समं नास्ति सत्यं वरानने एको देव एक धर्म एकनिष्ठा परं तपः गुरुपरतरं नान्यं नास्ति तत्त्वं गुरुपरम् माता धन्या पिता धन्यो धन्यो वाचाकुलं च धन्या च वसुरा देवी गुरुभक्ति सुदुर्लभा शरीरमिन्द्रियं प्राणश्चर्तस्वजनबन्धवा माता पिता कुलं देवी गुरुरेव न संशयः अकल्पजननकोट्या जपव्रता तपाक्रिया तत्सर्वं सफलं देवी गुरुसन्तोषमात्रता बलेनेव मन्दभाग्याश्च ये नराः गुरुसेवां न कुर्वन्ति सत्यं वरानने ब्रह्म विष्णु महेशाश्च देवर्षि पितृकिन्नराः सिद्धाचारान् यक्षाश्च अनेपि मुनयो जनाः गुरुभाव परं तीर्थम् अन्यतीर्थं निरर्चकम् सर्वतीर्थाश्रयो देवी पारङ्गुष्ठं च वर्तते तपेन जयमम्नोति चानन्तफलमाप्नुयात् येन कर्माद्यजं सर्वं स्थानानि च रमाणि च जपमेनासनं कुर्वन् येन कर्मफलप्रदम् गुरुगीतां प्रयाणेव सङ्ग्रामे रूपसङ्कटे वाप्नोति मरणे मुक्तिदायकम् सर्वकर्म च सर्वत्र गुरुपुत्रस्य श्रीयते इदं रहस्यनो वाचम् अवग्रे कथितं मया सुगोप्यं च प्रयत्नेन मम Tamam Kamcha Priyatvitim Swami Mukya Ganeshari Vishnavari Namcha Parvatim Manasapena Vaktavyam Satyam Satyam Vadamyam Adiva Bhagavachitaya Shabda Bhakti Utaya Cha Namamasi Sada Priye Durte Bhagane Nasike Nare Manasapena Vaktavya Gurugita Karachanam Samsara Sagara Samudrane Kamandram Brahmadi Deva Muni Pujita Siddha Mandram Daridra Dukkha Bhavaroga Vinasha Mantram Ande Mabhaya Ramguru Raja Mantram Iti Shri Skanda Purane Uttarakande Shvara Parvati Samvade Guru Gita Samapta Shri Gurudeva Charana Paramastu Nityanandaya Gurave Shisha Samsararine Bhaktakaya Yadehaya Namaste Chitsadatmane Nirvasanam Nirakanksam Savadosha Vivarjitam Niralambam Nirantankam Nityanandam Namamyam Nirvamam Nirankaram Samaduka Sukhamariram Avadutam Namamyam Avinashinamamanam Ekavignaya Tadvata Vitaraga Bhayakrodam Nityanandam Namamyam Naham Deho Name Deho Jivanamamichi Evam Vignaya Santushtam Samasankalpanamantram Yamamukta Sanatana Iti Vignaya Santruptam Nityanandam Namamyam Yanagnidarna Karmanam Kamasankalpavarjitam Eyopare Hinamjam Avarutam Namamyam Sabhaveni Sukambhogam Navanshati Yadrusala Santushtam Nityanandam Namamyam Devanilla Sabhyam Yasyavi Priyate Manam Amatriram Amanam Avarutam Namamyam Yam Jagradavastayam Swapnavadyo Vatishyate Nishintam Chimayamanam Nityanandam Namamyam Dvaisham Nasi Anasti Nasi Asya Shubha Shubham Eradhyana Vinandam Charam Pashati No Yastu Jagapashanti Chinmayam Nitya Yuktam Gunatitam Nityanandam Namamyam Yo hi darshana matrena Bhavate Bhuvanatrayam Pavanam Jagamam Tirtham Avadutam Namamyam Sarva Pujyam Sarapurnam Akhandananda Vigram Svaprakasha Anandam Nityanandam Namamyam Nishkalam Nishkiyam Shantam Nirmalam Paramam Nitam Ganesha Purivasenam Avadutam Namamyam Yoga Purnam Tapomurtim Prema Purnam Sudarshanam Jnana Purnam Tapamurtim Nityanandam Namamyam Durjana शांतो मुझे सबंदेभ्यो मुक्ता शन्यान विमुक्तये प्रजाभ्यां परिपालयन्तां यायेन मार्गेण नमहि महिषा Yam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varsatu parajanyan prithvi shashasalini desho yamsho araito brahmana santu nirbhayam sarve bhavantu sukhinam Sarve Santu Niramaya Akasi Dukha Bhagave Sarva Sarata Durgani Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu Sarva Kamara Vabnutu Sarva Savadra Nandatu Swasti Matrauta Vicheno Astu Swasti Gopyo Jagate Purushebhya Vishvam Subhutam Suviratram No Astu Yoge Vadrushem Asuryam Om Shanti 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 Arati Karun Sada Guru Ki Karun Sada Guru Ki Pyare Guru Varaki Arati Karun Guru Varaki Arati Karun Sada Guru Ki Karun Sada Guru Ki Pyare Guru Varaki Arati Karun Guru Varaki Jaya Guru Deva Amala Vinashi Jnana Rupa Tarake Bhasi सदगुरु के प्यारे गुरुवर की आरती करूं गुरुवर की करो कृपा सद्गुरु जग चारण सतपथ दर्शन भ्रांति निवारण करो कृपा सद्गुरु जग चारण सतपथ दर्शन भ्रांति निवारण जय बाले लीलाधर की आरती करूं गुरुवर की आरती करूं सद्गुरु के करूं सद्गुरु के प्यारे गुरुवर की आरती करूं गुरुवर की नित्यानंद सद्गुरु दाता शक्तिपात के दिव्य प्रदाता मुक्तानंद सद्गुरु दाता शक्तिपात के दिव्य प्रदाता कर रे बाबा बार हरणी जानकी आरती करूं गुरुवर की आरती करूं सद्गुरु के करूं सद्गुरु के प्यारे गुरुवर की आरती करूं गुरुवर की ओम चैतन्य शाश्वतं शान्तं व्योमातीतं निरञ्जनं नारबिन्दु तलातीतं तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Sadguru Nath Maharaj ki jai. Sadguru Nath Maharaj ki jai. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday morning Satsang here at Shanti Mandir Walden. And a special welcome to all of you who are joining us via the YouTube live stream. As we move into the last month of the year, we've been studying Baba's book, Where Are You Going? And so today, Nicheshwari will be offering a concluding talk on that subject for the year. And also, I was thinking that as we move through the new year, we've been very fortunate to have many different teachers who are offering Baba's teachings and teaching us via, the live stream or the virtual classes with the Zoom. And Baba, in his book, Mukteshwari, gives us an understanding and an awareness about learning that I think that we can all cultivate and carry with us at all times. So he says, student, teacher, knowledge. A student should be pure, calm, single-minded, free from attachment and aversion. A student who works single-mindedly obtains all glory. During the time of learning, a student should not participate in anything alien. To lead a student away from learning and towards sectarian controversies and politics is reprehensible in a leader and brings degradation to the student. A student whose heart is pure and who leads a regular and ideal life becomes worthy of honor. Receive knowledge as you receive a mantra, with reverence and respect. When you pass an examination, the goddess of knowledge gives great joy. When you fail, she brings misery and agony. To be immersed in learning and to learn with devotion is itself success. When students respect teachers, that respect brings great joy. To treat students with respect is the dharma of teachers. Only when student, teacher, and knowledge become one is knowledge transmitted without obstruction and in its completeness. Gather knowledge with single-minded devotion. A man with a promiscuous mind cannot succeed in anything. While knowledge is being sifted and gathered, knowledge, giver of knowledge, and seeker of knowledge should become one. Learn all skills, the mundane as well as the spiritual. Knowledge is wealth, divinity, beauty. Know that one who lacks knowledge is worthless. Muktananda, find knowledge. Knowledge reveals the path of peace, grants godliness, makes man Narayana. Muktananda, obtain knowledge. So we continue with our Sunday morning satsangs, with meditation, with kirtan, and Sunday satsangs with Dana, Nicheshwari, our workshops with Larry Holmes, and Leo, Mary Riley, and Mark Ketchell. And all of these become avenues for us to be able to obtain knowledge. So as we move through our Sunday morning satsangs and we hear the various speakers, let us open our hearts and our minds to that which is being shared. Let us take on the role of student and become filled with that glory of the Guru, that presence of the Guru, and receive that knowledge so that we can continue to illumine ourselves and spend time and rest in the company of the self. Sadhgurunad Maharaj Ki Jai.
Testing. Good morning. Back from the blissful whirlwind of Gurudev's visit to Walden. It was wonderful to see some of the people again, see them in person, share the space, the distancing in the space, and also their presence, and then catching up with so many things that happened to them, to us, the world, etc. So now we are, as Devani was saying, here, just ourselves, and no masks and no distancing, so it's very comfortable. And we share all that joy with the people that are not here inside the ashram. As she was saying, that we had the fortune of studying the book that is called Where Are You Going? And as a spoiler, I can say that finally we found out that we have to go nowhere because we are already there. It reminds me of a joke that a child puts on a sweater and puts on a scarf and starts heading towards the door of his house because he thinks he's going to play with friends, but it's not the time or the weather or the situation to go out. So the mother says, "Where are you going?" And the child said, and before he finishes saying, she says, "You are going nowhere." She says, "No, that's what I was thinking. I'm going nowhere." So in this place, where we all find ourselves, it's just a matter of like the diving deeper each time that we do practices. And what I mean, we discovered it as a group also, but most importantly than anything else, is that when we do the practice, it's exactly what Devani was saying, when the teacher, the student, and the knowledge becomes one, then the fruit is achieved. And then Baba, in every chapter, repeats again. For example, in the chapter is called meditation. The meditator, the goal of the meditation, and the fact or the action of meditating must be one. One must not think, I'm going to sit down, I am going to cross my legs, I'm going to make sure that I am warm, I'm going to repeat the mantra, but eliminate the I am, eliminate the ego, and then see that the only thing that I'm going to do is to remove the veils of ignorance that are there with the help of the Guru, and do the five actions of Shiva myself. No? So it's creation, sustenance, dissolution, and then I have been hiding myself from my own true nature, but I'm going to discover it by removing all those veils. So in that case, it's important to do every of the actions that we perform in this way. Like, I am doing the limited, the contracted form of the five functions of Shiva. With all the limitations, there's limitations of space, there's limitation of locomotion, there's limitation of time. It's a whole, I mean, this is a universe of knowledge. But important thing is stop, or at least decrease, the identification with the false I that I'm not. Because from childhood or even from previous lifetimes, we're taught, okay, you are a girl, you are Mexican, you are good, you are tall, you are dark, you are white, you are this, you are that. And so all these labels we put on, and that veils the seeing, the knowledge of who we really are. That is called the self in the English and Spanish translations, but in Sanskrit is Atman. And it's very different, it's not the self. It is like the soul, anima. Anima in Latin means something that animates everything. And it is consciousness, it's conscious of itself, it's conscious of everything that happens around it and in it. Because you cannot say she or he when you talk about consciousness. And then when you start experiencing all this, that is like alive in consciousness, you see that it brings joy. But it's not just a normal joy, it's a joy that is there. And I'm sure all of us have experienced it in the midst of pain, in the midst of sadness, in the midst of trouble, or even when tragedy strikes, that bliss is there. So it has nothing to do, it's two totally different things. It's two totally different levels of experience. So when they tell us, okay, the self or you, Atman, or whatever name, I don't like to say the word God because it has many connotations. But when we reach that space, which is the space that I am really, then it's conscious and it's Ananda, it's pure bliss. And it's also eternal, because this body, as we know, I mean, he repeats it so many times in so many ways. The body will go away. The body will disappear. The body will be thrown in the water or cremated or buried or made to disappear because it begins to rot and is no longer us. So if that changes, the body changes, we are not it. And then the thoughts, the concepts, the notions, the emotions, and all these things that we allow to rule our lives, they're not us. So for that, we have to meditate. So the first chapter of this wonderful book is called The Self. And then in it says that to reach the self, the guru removes the characteristics that the individual identifies himself with. And I remember that when I was younger, you learn about the Greeks. And the Greeks also like separated or categorized the human in different personality types. So these types are like sanguine, choleric, melancholic, phlegmatic. Maybe you remember those things. So when we see that we are all so different, we're all totally different, the four types. Sanguine means enthusiastic, active, social, like the heart of the party, no? The one that is always organizing things, etc., and it's called sanguine. Then choleric, it sounds like something like it's angry, but it's not. It's short-tempered, fast, and irritable. It's the form of reacting to life that the Greeks categorized, because when they apply medicine, first of all, they went to the temperament, as they do in Ayurveda, no? So it is important to see that we are all very different, but in the same vein, we are all the same. It's the same Shakti, it's the same energy. So there comes another person that is melancholic, who is analytical, wise, and quiet. Or it can be phlegmatic, which is relaxed and peaceful, or a combination of everything. Like we could say the gunas, for example. Nobody is totally rajasic, nobody is totally active, nobody is totally like lazy or tamasic. Nobody has only one characteristic. We are a mix of everything, and the mix is wonderful because we're all different. So when we talk about this book, what it says is to find unity in diversity, in difference, and in similarity. I remember that I met a girl in Mexico because her name was Rosalba, and she was always depressed. And she used to tell me even when I was born depressed. I'm sure my first words were like, blah, you know. Never was I able, she said, to feel real joy. Not even when I got a promotion at work or a new boyfriend or a new car. And the parents knew this characteristic, but they didn't know what to do. She went to therapists, but the therapist told her that cannot be changed because that is like the broth when you make a soup and the broth is there, and then you put all the other ingredients, but there's certain things cannot be changed. So one day I told her about meditation, and we went together to the Siddha Yoga ashram, and she walked by a picture of the guru. She just walked by the picture. No presence, no words, no music, nothing. And then she told me later, she says, it was very strange because I had to look back and I say, where did it fall? Like this. Where did it fall? My sadness, my depression, It's like it was like a ball, like a ball for playing a sport, and it rolled from my left shoulder, and it went away forever. And she says, I just get, what happened? Well, then she started coming with me to the meditation. But this is what the guru can do. When we try to explain the guru, it's absolutely impossible. That's why it is better, no? To give them something to read and have their own experience. And again, what Baba says, we are all born and created different, no? It's like Oscar Wilde, he said something, he said, all men are created equal, but some are more equal than others. So that is the thing that, according to our own personality, according to our own history, we find the self. So we find ourselves, and he says it here, it's also, I mean, it's impossible to talk about the whole book, but something really hit me, that we find ourselves in the middle of two extremes. Like when she said, Devyani said, knowledge, the teacher, and the act of learning must become one, but we find ourselves in the middle. When we are taught to meditate, we are taught that there is a thought, there is another thought, and there is a space in it. So while we are watching our thoughts, that's how they say, no, watch your thoughts. Then there comes a thought, there is a space. There comes a thought, there is a space. And then we begin to concentrate on the space between the thoughts as we concentrate on the space between the breaths. So it sounds very simple, it is very simple, but it's extremely powerful. We inhale, pause, exhale, pause. So we are in what is called Abeda Beda, which is the difference and the no difference. This is a little like higher philosophy of Kashmir Shaivism, but Baba put some drops here in the book of this, because we learn when we meditate, because we don't see anything. We don't see high, low, left, right, colors, nothing is just the self, that we are nowhere, we're at the same time everywhere. So when we are, let's say, for example, Latin American, and this is Norwegian, but we are not Veda, we are not different, and we are not different. Kashmir Shaivism does a lot of those play on words. We are different in the sameness, or same in the difference. Then it is this where what I feel is that some kind of crust that is in our understanding begins to dissolve, begins to break, and we begin to perceive things in a different way. Because what these books do, I mean, it looks like just a book, right? It's paper, words, printed, covers, etc. But it's not. It's something like an icon on the computer that when you open it, it reveals itself, and it gives you the experience of what it is explaining. It's like magic. So I came to this, like on the second time when we were studying this, the second week, I realized you touched this book, and then it's not mere words. It's something that talks to you from a space that you know what is there, but magically it has been put in words so that we can understand it, because just the mere experience is not enough. And I remember that Baba, when they asked him, why do you like the philosophy of Kashmir Shaivism probably more than all the other, because a bunch of philosophies in India. And he said, because it's the one that most clearly explains my experience. So because experience is, I am that, I am Shiva. In the study group, we started doing that, and it has worked very well. I told everybody, we have to start believing what we study. We cannot just, there's no exam. So every time somebody wants to read or wants to ask a question, you say, I'm Shiva Malini, I am Shiva Shreya, I am Shiva, whatever they are, no? And I didn't know they would take to it so seriously, so everybody does it. And it's good that along with the name that we have been given, we try to at all times remember this pure identity. So Baba talks about the mantra. The mantra is another chapter of this book. The mantra is also a power. You know, when they say that we can remove a thorn with another thorn, you have a thorn in your finger, and with another thorn is easier to remove. So with the power of words, we are able to remove what the words are creating when they use as Maya, matrika. Matrika, which means a little mother or a mother that is misunderstood. Or really, when you look for matrikas, there's like 45 different translations in my dictionary. But basically, matrika, also that what measures. That also means what that measures. So when something measures a thing, it limits it. It puts in a limited space, size, texture, weight, color, etc. And then we become the seer of the object. So when we're seeing the object, I identify myself as the seer, this as the object. But with mantra, when we start repeating the mantra constantly, then that distance disappears. He explains this. He says the mantra can completely transform your inner being. Our inner state is created by the thoughts and feelings that continually arise in us. How true this is. Like from the moment we wake up, and if we do meditation regularly, the case is that sometimes you wake up and then there's no thoughts. There's a silence like that, and then you start like arising from there, from the bottom of consciousness, probably. But then there comes a thought, I have to do this, I need to do that, that is coming, so it's going, it is happening. And then it fills a space where we do what Shiva does, we create a reality. But depending on what reality we use, then that is the word that we create. So what he's saying here is we should play the mantra immediately, like before this crazy mind starts working. So you start hearing it, please. Because he says, outwardly we may appear to have fixed identities. This is so important. We think we are a fixed identity. One person may appear to be a lawyer, another an engineer, another a doctor, another a professor. But inside we are continually changing mass of consciousness. When we project the beam of mantra into that fluctuating mass, it stabilizes it and focuses it in one direction, the direction of the self. And then this paragraph ends by saying, the sages have said that only the mantra can help us transcend our confusion, our fantasies, and the constant changes of the mind, because it's charged with the grace of the Guru. It's a live mantra, so we should use it at all times. Then, speaking of what are the fruits of using the mantra, he says, the pursuit of happiness is another chapter of this book, Pursuit of Happiness. He says having a career, children, health, a good job, etc. We know that. It makes us happy for some time, but in the inner, let's say, hunger that we all have, there's a space, and the space has the shape of the self. It's like this, these toys that there's for children where there is a round hole, and then another is a square, another is a triangle, and there's pegs of these shapes. So there's one, and the child, when it's little, has to figure out which one to put in what. So we have to put the self in the one that has the shape of the self, because otherwise we are always looking for another form, for another shape, for another toy. Another new car, another new husband, another new, when am I going to travel? I can stand being here, etc. I want to get out of here. So all of that, when we repeat the mantra steadily, then it brings us that peace, that pursuit of happiness. And then it says also, there's many people in the Bhagavad Gita, it explains also 4 types. Because the mind naturally, in order that we can learn something, divides it into categories. But the categories are also created by the mind. So after 1 or 2 more paragraphs, we have to realize that all of this is knowledge, all of this is limitation, all of this is man-created, mind of the man. But in any case, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says this. He says, 4 types of people come to me, O Arjuna. See what you are, what philosophies. We have to think that everything is man-created, that we have to transcend it, use them, as a springboard to go into the pool, swimming pool of consciousness. Because otherwise, all it brings is differences, is arguments, limitation. So that is what it says. And then the next chapter is called meditation. So mantra naturally leads to meditation. And meditation, it has a secret. It says here that there's a secret to meditation. So I'm going to read it. It says, these are the 4 important factors in meditation. The object of meditation, which is the inner self. The mantra, which will put you in contact with the self. The meditation posture, which should be steady and comfortable. And the natural breathing rhythm, which will arise as you repeat the mantra. When those 4 factors come together, you will experience a state of meditation. However, the real secret of meditation on the self is Shaktipat. If you want meditation to come easily and naturally, your inner Shakti, the Kundalini, must be awakened through the grace of a Siddha Guru. Bless you. Then you will no longer have to struggle for meditation. The Shakti will center your mind in one place, and through the mantra given by the Guru, your consciousness will naturally and easily be carried inward towards the self. So this is probably what happened to that friend of mine that I was sharing about. And he says that the inner journey is very short. It's actually there, closer than your own breath. But the final attainment is to get there and remain there. It's not to keep on moving or learning more or practicing different types of meditation, but only one. In the Guru Gita, no, it says one God, one Guru, one path, probably one type of meditation, etc. And the thing is that meditation is something that happens, no? He says here, according to how you live your life, your meditation will happen. It's not something that one sits down and does. In the Conversations with Gurudev, he also talks about it. He says it comes as a consequence of how you live your day. So we know the self, we have the mind, the mantra, meditation, and then we reach another interesting chapter here that is called the inner power. The inner power is called Atmabala, and it says about this: contemplate Kundalini, who is supreme consciousness, who plays from the base of the spine to the crown of the head, who shines like a flash of lightning, who is as fine as the fiber of a lotus stalk, who has the brilliant radiance of countless suns, who is a shaft of light as cool as hundreds of nectarian moonbeams. This path is about power, no Shakti. Shakti is that what makes everything work, and in Greek it's called energy. Energy, is something that works, something that makes something function. So what makes the universe and ourselves function is that Shakti. But if we're not aware of the Shakti and the workings of the Shakti, then we always have this kind of conversation like, what is happening? How is it going? How is it doing? Instead of saying, how are you doing? It's like we place our power in the outer situations. And doing that, it renders us very weak, because tragedies will always happen, or maybe good things as well, but what Baba talks about here is just to do that exercise of having the inner power. The inner power is like an inner wealth that will also allow us to reach the higher step, not needing to ask for help. All through the book, interestingly, and even though he is the Guru, Gurudev is the Guru, he's always nudging us or encouraging us to be independent. This is a question that was they asked me in the study group, and I was not able really to answer it. How can we be so surrendered to the Guru and at the same time be independent? What does that independence mean? And so what Baba explains here is that, these are the important questions in life, I think. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to follow the practices given by the Guru, but always knowing that the Guru will give you that awakening, that power, that Shakti that will allow you to do it. So it's like a marriage. That's how he says it. No? It's two people that live together but are one in a sense, in another sense they're two. And then each one has a role to play. And when it is played correctly, then there's, we could say, success. Then, in the course of time, meditation, inner power, mantra begins to happen on its own accord. And we begin to become that. So he talks about the opening of the inner channel, for example. This is interesting. He says, the outer changes in our lives are only indication of the real work of the Kundalini. The outer changes in our lives are only an indication of the real work of the Kundalini. It is inside us that the Kundalini creates its miracle. The human organism contains 720 million nadis or channels. Some carry blood, some carry nourishment, and some carry prana, the vital force. Of these nadis, the Sushumna nadi is paramount. Also known as the central channel, the Sushumna is located in the subtle body in the area corresponding to the physical spinal column. And he keeps with all these explanations. And there are some sutras where it says by the expansion of the inner channel, then that is what creation happens. If I really have imbibed this, or if I at least have opened a window of belief. Like one of the characteristics that Vedanta asks from the students is faith and belief in Brahman. So they use the word Brahman because it's another philosophy, but it's like Shiva. And then he says, if you don't have that belief, then you cannot study anything. As time goes by, we have experiences of being faced with some kind of problem or simply disappointment or scare sometimes. And then we're maybe surprised at the reaction that we have or no reaction at all during those things. And we begin to see that people who meditate regularly become strong. There is a story here in the book that says, meditation teaches you meditation. What was it like when you first began to meditate? They asked him. And he says, in the beginning, I meditated just as you meditate now. When I sat for meditation with my eyes closed, my mind would go there and there, thinking of one thing or another. But as I meditated more and more, I began to learn the skill of getting into meditation. I found that as I did sadhana, sadhana taught me sadhana. Meditation taught me meditation. This will happen to you too. So what he's saying is practice. Like in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali, he speaks about some qualities that we can encourage ourselves to practice. And one of them is to do the exercise or the swadhyaya. And this is for a long time with great intensity without interruption. That is the way to do it. If we don't do it like that, then there's probably no results. But Patanjali, really, he was very smart, no? Because he said that to do it constantly and then to see every action that occurs in our life as one of the qualities that we want to develop. So not to go for the quality, but to find it in the common life. For example, one of the activities he talked about, and Baba mentioned is called tapas, which is heat. Heat to cook something, to burn something, to feel something, tapas. And then he said tapas is what we do every time we do something and we do it perfectly, or we do it better, or we do it with more ease or less effort, and we see how the inner self, the inner power is developing. So tapas makes you into like a cooked product. We remember that story of the guru that was testing the disciples and was hitting on some pots where he was cooking, and it's cooked, it's cooked, it's cooked. And when he hit Namdev on the head, he says, this is uncooked. And Namdev got very upset, so thereby showing that he was really uncooked. So tapas is one. The other one, swadhyaya. He says, practice swadhyaya only knowing that the destination is you. It's like when you reach, you go with the GPS to a place, and when it says you have reached your destination, at all times he advises us, know that you are at your destination. There's no journey, there's no effort, there's just the awareness of having found that. So ikole swadhyaya, which is the knowledge of oneself. And then knowing that we really have that bhakti aspect, that devotional aspect. He also advises to practice what he calls Ishvara Pranidhana, which is concentration of love, devotion for a chosen deity. So it's tapas, is that I think I am, and the surroundings reinforce it in me. My parents, my teachers, society, myself, my mirror. So we begin to live as if to complete the lack of something that is there in the heart. Because as I said, in the center of ourselves, in the core, there is a space, and the space has the shape of the self, and nothing else can fill it. So I don't know who I am. I don't know exactly. It must be that I'm a Scorpio. Maybe it's because I'm tired. Maybe because I was the middle child. Now, somebody tells you, your problems are because you're the middle child. The first child has these characteristics, all the support of the parents. The little one is always pampered. But you are doomed because you are the middle child. And then you accept that explanation and live your life according to that information that was given based on the limited self. This is like he says that you are not that limited self. So then it's avidya, I don't know who I am. Asmita, I think I am the self, the ego. And then there is raga, which is a biggie, Raga, attraction. So we are attracted, he explains it very well. He says we are attracted to the things we like, and we are attracted to the things that we don't like, to not liking so much. Like, for example, he says Brussels sprouts. I love them, I like them so much. It's an attachment. I must have them at least every other day. And then the person who hates them is like, they say, love to hate. Because you are attached, I don't like them, I don't even decide, not even the words, please, no. So we create this like separation here, and we don't realize we're in the middle. So when he explained these 5 afflictions, this is the third one, raga, attraction. And then the opposite, which is aversion, dvesha. So dvesha, what happens is that we spend chunks of life, of energy, of mind, trying to convince everybody of this thing that we don't like. Example, the president of the US. So hours and hours and energy and electricity and the social media spent, wasted, on finding everything negative that can be said about something, about some situation, about some person, about anything. Why? Because it's dvesha. Because I don't see it as I don't see it as one, I see it as two. Dva, dos, it's the same root. Two, dvesha. So avidya, asmita, and raga, and dvesha. And then the 5th one is clinging to life. And Patanjali says here, clinging to life is so powerful that even the most saintly person or the greatest sage, they walk with it, with attachment to life. You can see somebody who's very holy, but if a car comes that is about to hit him or her, we will do this. It's not that we surrender into death. It's a very deeply seated instinct of inhibition, clinging to life. So in order to begin to, and these things, what they say is also in the brain stem, where all the basic functions of life are to survive, hunger, moving, talking, living, protecting ourselves, cold. The very basics, they have a relationship with these 5 kleshas. And he suggests this exercise. He says, when you are feeling some of this, identify it as what it is, what are the kleshas, and then not do the opposite, but create a space between the 2 extremes and use it as a gate to enter and stay in the space of the self. These people, they sat down for months, I think, trying to figure out this. But when when we read it, it is very helpful. It is like a toolbox, you know? And then sometimes it's really, really good to identify this. But at the same time, at the end of the book, Baba says, whatever you study, all the philosophies, etc., realize that it is not you. The 5 kleshas, the limitations, all the problems, the false identification, all of that you can make like put it in the bag and put it aside and just think, I'm Shiva, I'm perfect, I'm that. Because we have a recording inside that must be substituted, that must be replaced. You know? So that's what he says. And then there's something else. The book, like 10 minutes, very good. In the end, what he talks about is called the religion of the self. Yeah. He talks about the guru, but we did that already. The religion of the self. And so he says, when people ask me what is my religion, he says, I have no religion because religions are man-created. Religion is to welcome everything as Shiva, to know that I'm Shiva and that is also that. So anything else will lead to argumentation, will lead to duality, more duality than there's already. But he says you can become that being that sees everything as one. To know that you are one, to know that you are the creator of all this, and then you can really just take the world, he says, as a place to promenade. Promenade uses as well, which means like walking, literally through a park. So at the very end of the book, he says, and if you want to read this book, if you have it, Life is a Play of Sun and Shadow, which I won't read now because it's long. Larry read it once, and we have it also, that we can email it to somebody if they like. But basically, Baba, what he says this is, what is today won't be tomorrow. What is dark today is light tomorrow. And all these differences really don't exist. In the end of the book, I'm going to read the last part to finish, leave you with very uplifting thoughts. He says, once I was giving a tour of an atomic energy station. The first thing I saw was an enormous pile of metal, rocks, and other materials. Everything in the pile was crushed into a fine powder, which was transferred to a large tank full of boiling water. The powder gradually dissolved, emitting a mild bluish glow. At the next stage, the fluid separated into 2 parts. One consisted of rays of light, and the other was transformed, again into tiny particles of matter. The particles were collected into a small, dense sphere. The scientists there explained to me that all the material in the sphere was nothing but energy. This is news. This is the news this century. In fact, they said, whatever you see is nothing but energy. I mean, they were telling Baba. You may see trees, but they are really energy. You may see water, but that is really energy. Everything you see is nothing.
Danya Danya Pradakshina Sadguraya Chizame Varasuravara Vimana Uttara Yachi. Namaskar. Sadguru Nath Maharaj Ki Jai. So this concludes our Sunday morning satsang. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week. We are facing some internet problems at the moment, so we apologize and are sorry for your inconvenience. We are working on it, so hopefully we'll have that remedied as soon as possible. And Niteshwari, thank you for your wonderful concluding talk on Baba's book, Where Are You Going? When she was giving the analogy of the different shapes and the wooden, we remember those, I think, all as kids. I think all of us can relate to that one. So yes, we will continue looking for the one for the self and make sure that we find that, that piece that fits and then establish ourselves there till eternity. So thank you for that. Thank you for your talk offering. Next week, we have Dana Wilkinson, so we'll be hearing from him and his concluding talk on Where Are You Going for 2020. I'd like to conclude with a few verses from Baba's book on Mukteshwari on the chapter Love. Love is man's greatest wealth. In the form of love, God dwells in man. Love is the nature of the Guru. Love is a great quality and worthy of reverence. Chant with love. Meditate with love. Remember the Lord with love. Goddess Chitti becomes pleased when you repeat your revered mantra with love. Mantra is one of her forms. Let your love for God grow every day, and let that love be without motive. Muktananda, love is the herb of immortality. Nothing in the world is higher than love. Love is the wealth of the heart. So we conclude today's satsang, and we look forward to seeing you next week. And just a reminder to everyone that registration for the upcoming intensive, for the first intensive of the new year, January 2nd, for those of you who are local here at the Walden Ashram, you can attend in person. And then for those of you who are joining us virtually, that'll be on January 3rd. The link will come to you the evening of January 3rd and be valid for 7 days. So you'll have the entire week, including a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, to be able to view that. Not to be missed, we already have Gurudev's message and pre-recorded session for that intensive. So again, the first one for the year. And the topic of this one is accept responsibility. Don't ask me, ask the horse, based on Nasruddin's story. So hopefully it will, without fail, it'll give us direction into 2021 and a good direction of where we can go individually and also our prayers for society. So thank you all. Sadguru Nath Maharaj Ki Jai.